Hello everyone and welcome back to Magic Pill Monday, where we talk about niche or rather unknown supplements and review the science to see if they can be a great addition for your life or if they are simply a waste of money. And today we're talking about glycine. So what is glycine? Now glycine is actually just an amino acid, or what we most of the time refer to as a protein. So whenever you buy something in the supermarket and you look at the label, it says it has a certain amount of protein in it. But this protein is not always the same. Actually, it consists out of 20 amino acids when we talk about protein. And depending on what food you buy, there's a different composition of those amino acids. So 5 grams of protein from bread is not the same as 5 grams of protein from milk. There's a different composition of amino acids. So when we talk about protein for the body, we typically talk about 20 amino acids, shown here on the right. And glycine is just one of them. So glycine is specifically found a lot in collagen. So collagen is something that is present in our own body, in our skin, for example. But it's also a supplement you can buy, collagen powder, and about 20 to 30% of collagen powder is typically made of glycine. Now, on the other hand, whey protein, which is the most popular protein supplement out there, only consists for about 2 to 3% of glycine. So, what is glycine specifically good for? Let's have a look. Okay, so the body needs about 15 grams of glycine a day for a variety of processes, shown here on the left. The most important one is the production of collagen, and collagen can be found in our skin, in our joints, connective tissue, those kinds of places. So glycine is actually important if we care about our skin health and our joint health, and this can be important for, when you get older, because elderly people often have problems with their joints and their skin starts to look older and older. And this has often to do with a lack of collagen or the body's reduced capacity to produce collagen. But it's also important for if you are an athlete, for example, because there's also a lot of stress typically on the tendons and on the joints. So collagen production is critical for those populations. Now, glycine is also used for other processes. I only showed the most important ones here. So for example, the creation of creatine, glutathione, and bile salts. So creatine is actually a very popular sports supplement, but our body can also create creatine by itself, just in tiny amounts. And to do this, we need glycine. Now, glutathione is often referred to as the master antioxidant that our body can produce. So for our health, it's very important that our body can produce this antioxidant. And to do this, it needs glycine. And finally, we have some bile salts. And bile salts are important for digestion. So we need 15 grams of glycine a day to fulfill all those functions. Very important functions. And where do we typically get it? Well, our body can produce a little bit of glycine by itself. Just using other proteins, it can combine them and produce glycine in our body. And it can produce about 2.5 grams a day. So this is definitely not enough. We need about 12.5 grams from food. Now the reason I made this red in the slide is because most people will not reach this 12.5 grams from food. And that is where supplementation comes in. Because if you are not eating enough glycine, then you can use supplementation to still reach those 15 grams. And if you do not reach those 15 grams, you can imagine that some of the things on the left side here are starting to suffer. Maybe you have lower collagen production as a result. Maybe you have lower glutathione status or less bile salts available. So it's important for our general health to get enough in, and supplementation can help with that. Now, another thing to talk about that is important is called the methionine to glycine ratio. Now, it sounds very complicated, but let me make it simple for you. So, most protein-rich foods that we eat are rich in methionine. I'm talking about skinless, boneless meats, eggs, or dairy products. And as you can see in this difficult graph on the right here, we have methionine in the green circle and glycine in the red circle. And this is just showing some sort of metabolic process. And as you can see, glycine is required at several stages in this metabolic process for methionine. Now, what this means is that if we eat lots of foods that are high in methionine, the need for glycine goes up because we need more glycine to fulfill all these metabolic activities. In other words, the figure I just showed on the other page, 15 grams, might actually go up if we eat lots of foods that are rich in methionine. So that means we need even more glycine than 15 grams. And that means that the typical person that is eating lots of methionine-rich foods might actually be in an even higher glycine deficit than I showed on the last slide. So this is something to be aware of. Now, what are glycine-rich foods? Glycine is found in skin and connective tissue, so this goes for foods as well. So we're thinking about, for example, if you buy a chicken leg which still has a skin on it and it has some connective tissue there, those are the kind of foods that are rich in glycine. Or fish with the skin still on, or organ meats that have a lot of connective tissue in them. Those are the kind of foods that have lots of glycine, but people typically do not eat lots of those foods, and so the methionine to glycine ratio is something to keep in mind. If you eat a lot of methionine rich foods, that is fine, but it probably means you need even more glycine. Okay, so let's look at some scientifically proven benefits of glycine. So in this study, they were looking at people who were taking about 3 grams a day of glycine, which seems to be about average, and compared them with people who were taking 10 grams a day of glycine. And they saw that people who raised the increase from 3 grams to 10 grams had an increase in collagen production of about 200%. So what this means is that if you start supplementing glycine, you might see a tremendous increase in collagen production in your body, which can be beneficial for your joints and for your skin. The next benefit worth talking about is sleep. A number of studies have been done on glycine and sleep. And the great thing about the studies is that they all use the same dosage, 3 grams, and they were all taken at the same time, so just before bed. And study 1 and 2 were done in insomniacs, so the above 2 studies. And in the third study in this page, they were looking at people who were deliberately sleep deprived. So they made sure that those people were not getting enough sleep for 3 days in a row, and then gave them glycine, and then compared how they were feeling with people that were not taking glycine. And the outcomes were great in all 3 studies. So what they saw was that people were generally feeling more energetic after taking glycine and waking up. They fell asleep faster. They felt that their sleep quality was better. And they also had generally better performance the next day in whatever they were doing. So it really seems that glycine can both improve your sleep, but also just to make you feel better the next day, even if you're, for example, sleep deprived. Benefit 3 is calmness. So glycine is actually also a neurotransmitter. I just took a piece of text here from the website examine.com, which is a great scientifically based website looking at all kinds of supplements. And we see here that glycine itself is a neurotransmitter with its own signaling system, and this system is inhibitory and works along the GABAergic system. Alright, that sounds a little bit difficult perhaps, so let's make it easier. So GABA is the primary inhibitory neurotransmitter, and glycine is similar to it. That's what they say in this piece of text. Now, what do inhibitory neurotransmitters do, they prevent or block chemical messages and decrease the stimulation of nerve cells in your brain. Now, just to get it down to earth, this just means it calms you down. It is an anti-stress neurotransmitter, and it can help you to move from a fight or flight state, a state in which you feel stressed out, maybe you feel jittery, anxious, and it can move you into a rest and digest state where you feel calmer and you are able to sleep well, take some rest, recover. So glycine can also help with that. The final benefit worth talking about is growth hormone. So there has been a single study showing that if you take a large amount of glycine at once, 22.5 grams, the participants in the study saw a 3.6-fold increase in their growth hormone levels, which lasted for about 90 minutes. And even after 180 minutes, so 3 hours, they still saw a significant elevation of growth hormone. So glycine can actually peak your growth hormone and keep it elevated for a number of hours. So very impressive result. So let's talk about the risks and downsides. Now, the only downside I would say about glycine is that the research quality is not the best. For example, the sleep studies that were done, they often use subjective metrics, meaning that they ask the participants how they are feeling. So this is not very objective measurement, and I feel that the quality there could improve to really show that glycine can actually improve sleep. Another thing is the research on growth hormone. I think that study was done about 30 years ago, and it seems to be the only study on glycine and growth hormone. So even though the results were very impressive, I would like to see some studies that reproduce the same outcome to really be sure that it's actually so good for growth hormone and then there's not just some other mechanism at play. So that's the only downsides I can think of when it comes to glycine. The research is positive, but there's just not a lot of research out there. Now, the great thing I can say about glycine though is that it has no other risks. It is literally just protein that we can find in food. So we eat this daily and it's not unsafe in any sort of way. There are no known side effects of glycine, so I don't see any other risks of this supplement. Now, when it comes to dosage, there are several dosages you can take. For the sleep studies, they always used 3 grams. So 3 grams just before bedtime seems to be enough to get the benefits for better sleep. But if you want the benefits that we talked about in the beginning, so increased collagen production and those sorts of things, you're looking more at 10 to 15 grams a day. And finally, of course, if we want the growth hormone increase, then you might have to take an even bigger amount all at once. And in the study specifically, they used 22.5 grams a day. So those are the different dosages you can think about. And the quality really seems to be all the same. Quality is not really a concern when it comes to glycine. Now, from personal experience, I've used glycine for months. I used the glycine from the brand Jotunheim Nutrition. It's a European brand. And I found it had great effects on my sleep quality and how I was feeling when I woke up. So what I do typically is adding it to the tea when I go to sleep. So I have some herbal tea that is great for making you feel calm and sleepy, and I just add some glycine to it. And the great thing about glycine is that it looks like sugar, as you can see here, and it also tastes like sugar. So it's just like you add a little bit of sugar to your tea, but actually it's glycine. It's great. And finally, it is a really cheap supplement. It's about $10 for 200 grams. So I think when you look at all the potential benefits this has, this is really one of the best bang for your buck supplements out there. So final verdict, I will give this supplement a 9 out of 10 because it has so many benefits, some of which are often neglected, such as the production of collagen. It is a cheap supplement. It has no side effects that are worth noting. So all of this combined just makes it an absolute great supplement. The reason it's not a 10 out of 10 is just because I mentioned earlier, I think the research is not of the best quality. I would like to see more research, high quality research that confirms all of these positive effects, and then I would consider this a 10 out of 10 supplement. So that is it for glycine. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. Let me know if you ever tried glycine or if you think about taking it after watching this video. And also let me know what sort of other supplements you would like me to cover in this series. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.